Right guys, I've got a mock up now with the big LED. What I've got is it's actually a 9-volt regulator, voltage regulator, but it will be changed for a 12-volt one when it turns up. I've raided a TV and 2 power supplies and managed not to find a single regulator. I found MOSFETs, these weird diode things. Someone can tell me exactly what that is. I did Google it and found some data sheets on it, but I haven't read them. So yeah, there's a couple of MOSFETs, some transistors and other stuff, but you know, I've got this rigged up at the moment. So I've actually got 36 volts coming in, which is going into the 2 first pins, and then 9 volt coming out of this side. And it's just running this blower. I'm running it on a test, which is good because the first one I blew up. As you can see, that chip there is now dead. Good focus. Come on. Focus on it, come on, there we go. You can see that chip blew up, and you can see where it went. But basically, now if I connect these 2 wires up to the 2 there, that works. So now I can run the whole lot on 36 volts, and the fan will be running on 12 eventually. Well, the heatsink's starting to get warm though. Hopefully it doesn't affect the heat too much. Because as you see in the last video, this was running at about 50 degrees with the LED running. So now it's got the MOSFET. Well, I actually suppose there's probably quite a lot of heat in this from when I was soldering it. Yeah, I mean, it's fairly warm. The more power you put into these, the more inefficient they become. So if I had 12 volts going into this and 9 volts coming out, this fan is, I don't know what this is, 0.3 amps, so it's about 300 milliamps. So it's actually 330 milliamps. Anyway, yeah, so if that had 12 volts going in, 9 volts coming out, this fan would still run at 9 volts, no problem. That's what it's running at the moment. But because this has got 36 volts going in, it's got to drain a lot more heat into this heatsink. So anyway, we'll see how it performs when we get the thing up, when we get it all done. And I've also got 2 capacitors in there as well. I've just put them on a wire because it was easier than having them crammed down on that. It's been a pain in the ass. So it's just a 10 mic, 50 volt cap run on either side of the regulator. The first time I tried to do it without these because I was kind of hoping it wouldn't need them, but yeah, it didn't start up. So I had to fiddle around to try swapping the wires around because I was getting on how to wire this, and yeah, that's what resulted in that blowing up. So I put it around the right way. I put another fan on it and I put some caps on it, and now it's working fine. So I'm quite happy with that. Make sure this doesn't get too hot. But now it's working, I can finalise this. These wires are going to be, I'm going to use these, I'm just going to shorten them right up and they'll be taped down, or they'll be somewhere around here fairly close, hopefully maybe even up there on top of the reg. Just want to make it look nice and tidy, this. Eventually this will be put in a nice little housing, I just got to find one. Anyway, yeah, I'll leave it at that for the minute and I'll start charging this up and making it looking pretty. There's the wires for the fan on the heatsink, there's the fan. I mean, if it does get too hot, I might even be able to use this here. If I put that right on there, like so, that'll cool the heatsink down quite happily because it's going to pull the air in there through those fins, which will do quite happily. In fact, I can feel the heat coming out of it. So yeah, it's already cooling down, more or less. Oh well, just a couple of theories. We'll see how it goes. Oh, and also, the other thing I'm worried about is, this is now putting extra heat into there, that there is putting heat into there, and now with this being a 9 volt regulator, not 12 volt, that fan's actually running slower, so I will monitor it, but like I said, that's going to be going for a 12 volt reg, which hopefully should even produce less heat. So, yeah, I might even take that reg off and just see how hot it gets without it being on the heatsink, because if it can survive, then fine. But I don't want to blow it up, just because that is the only regulator I found out of, like, 3 appliances. I only found 1 regulator. I know where there is another 9 volt reg actually. There's a DVD player outside in the rain, which has got a 9 volt reg on it. I can always take off. Yeah, they're stone cold now. Oh well. As you can see, I've got the temperature hooked up again. The temperature this time seems to be roughly the same. So I'm wondering if it's actually maybe the thermal capacity of the heatsink itself. That's just as quick as it can cool it. So hopefully it stays there. I've got everything hooked up, same as it was before. The temperature sensor is in a different place, but the heatsink's still easily touchable, same as it was before, even though slightly warm. Of course, the only difference is all the wiring on the front. That regulator is adding heat to the heatsink, but this doesn't seem to be making any real effect. It's gone up to nearly 50 degrees now. It's pretty much 50. I have actually heatsink compound that to this as well, so it's getting the best thermal conductive properties possible. So hopefully, at the moment I'm going to go and eat, so I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to come back to it later and I'm going to hook it up again, and I'm going to test how hot it gets over the period of like half hour, and just see, because at the moment this has only been on for like 2 minutes, so it heats up fairly quickly because that chip does get warm. As you can see, we've also got 2 more. These are actually that's like I think that's there's an 18,000 Kelvin and a 20,000 Kelvin LEDs. They're one's whitish blue, the other one is kind of bluey purple. These were bought as they were kind of test subjects for the marine tank downstairs. So yeah, I just bolted them to this heatsink last night and they work really well. Hopefully get a video of them up soon. In fact, if I hook one of them up to that, you'll be able to see the colour. The camera makes it appear very, very blue. It's not that blue, it's more of a purpley. Oh wow, even doesn't recognise it up there. Yeah, we're still creeping up. We're up to 50.5 degrees. Yeah, I'll turn this off and come back to it later. Well guys, it's now been probably at least 20 minutes, half an hour. I just watched a video on YouTube which was about 11 minutes long, and so it's got to be in at least that long, and I would have expected to overheat by now, so. But nope, it's 54.4 degrees and it's been staying there for a while. It kind of just differs backwards and forwards, so I'm hoping it's just going to stay there. But I have had an idea. If I quickly unplug it. Nice and cool. If I do ever have a problem with the heating, sorry, the cooling of it, so you might just get in one of these, put a little piece of double-sided sticky foam all the way around here, and then just bung it on there like that. I can see that working fine. The only problem I see, of course, is the fact of just size. It's quite convenient like this. It's pretty substantially warm, this thing. But hey, it's all working quite well. I have to try and find some applications for it now, because I don't actually have any real use for this. It's just been a cool little fun project. As you can see, it's actually been put on top of the electrical tape, but I've thermal greased it down, so where the screw's going in, it's draining the heat away. I've just put a tape along the sides to fill in the gaps, and there's also a hole there. You can kind of see the outline there, so you can actually look through the bloody thing. There's holes in it. It's because this came off of graphics cards. So originally there would have been a couple of chips on the board there, and those holes would just be to vent some air through to help cool them. So I just taped them up. The hot melt glue that I used to stick these caps down with is alright. I might have to try and find a way of making this look a little bit prettier, but for the minute I think it's fine. It's working great. Quite happy with that. I've been trying to find a way of making this thing run with just 2 wires for ages. I thought about getting a bigger heatsink and just trying to integrate a bigger fan onto it, something which is maybe a 50 volt fan or something, or getting 2 24 volt fans and running them in series. Then that way we'd actually be running around about 50 volts, like 48 volts, and they'll just run on half speed. Well, not half speed, but lower than normal speed, just because they haven't got the right amount of voltage. That has occurred to me, but I think for the minute this would work just fine. I've glued up the end there as well because lots of air was escaping. So yeah, should be fine. I'm quite happy with that. Oops. I'd say that's pretty damn good. Let's see if there's any cats outside. Oh, door is closed. Really freaking windy out there at the moment. Yeah, well, chips. Yummy. And cat poo. It's disgusting. This is quite a cool light. will work great with high speed. And what is that? Oh, it's a shovel. Well, kiddie shovel. Buried in the grass. Oh well. That's cool. No, this thing runs much cooler outside with all this nice cold air. Oh well. Well, we're watching a bit of Top Gear and just doing the wiring on the LED. A little bit of less sophisticated fun with the old CCFL. I don't know, it's just so childish and fun.
No, I've got a pen. Why have you got a pen? You can tick them off when you've seen them in your book.
This is so much fun. Anyway, I'll get on.
Place.